Moving on to the biggest game of the day, College Game Day. The Dogs travel to Austin, Texas to play the Longhorns in the biggest game remaining on Georgia's schedule. Obviously, the rest of the way is not easy, but this is their first and biggest test that they have to get through to be able to make it to the conference champion, to the playoff, whatever they want to make it to at the end of the road. So looking back at this past weekend, obviously Texas did what they did against Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. They looked dominant on both sides of the football, and Georgia on the other side of that coin pulled out to, I believe it was a 24-point lead against Mississippi State at home, and proceeded to let their foot off the gas on defense, got gashed, held on for a 10-point victory. Now, I will preface this by saying, if you didn't watch the game, as a Georgia fan, there was no point in the game where I really felt concerned that we were going to lose. I think we controlled the game for the most part. However, there were moments where, you saw things that, in my head, was like, if we play like this and make these mistakes against Texas, we are not making it out. And I still feel that way. And Georgia has a lot of preparing to do. They cannot start slow against Texas. It's just the fact of the matter. If you start slow against good teams, you see what happened against Alabama. You don't get away with it. You beat the Kentuckys of the world, which, are good teams, but you can out-athlete them.
Yep.
But you don't bring your A game and you get out-coached against Alabama and Texas, you're not out-athleting shit.
Nope.
Because they got just as many 5 stars on that side of the ball. So I think this is obviously a very pivotal game for Georgia. If they want to control their destiny the rest of the way, they need to win out, but first win this game against Texas. I think they very well could win this game. However, Texas has looked nothing but dominant and given people no reason to think that they will falter in this game.
No.
So we are obviously two Georgia fans, two Georgia alumni. If you haven't watched our videos before, that's who we are. Trying to take more of an unbiased stance here because I'm genuinely worried, I will say. Go ahead and put it out there. I am worried for this game because if Georgia does not play to the level that we've come to expect from Kirby Smart these past few years and make mistakes, missed tackles, poor execution, poor communication like they have these past few games, they're not going to win.
If we don't play well, this could get ugly.
Yeah. They're going to pour it on.
Yeah.
Because, I would, too.
Yeah.
Resume building, obviously, if you went out, you're fine. But, Texas has looked dominant, and I don't think they'll shy away from flexing their muscles a little bit. Sark is not the one to do that.
No. It does not matter. At this point, it does not really matter who the starting quarterback is. Sark is in his bag. Just the play calling. They have obviously, outside of that Mississippi State game, in which I believe they still won by multiple scores. I don't think
it was.
They didn't cover, but they still won 35-13. Yeah. So Sark is in his bag. The fewest amount of points they've scored all season is 31, and that was against Michigan. And anybody who watched that game knew Texas took the foot off the gas and was just cruising in the second half. But, yeah, when you're averaging, 52, 31, 56, 51, 35, and 34. Yeah, they're averaging somewhere in the mid-40s as far as points per game. They're in their bag. They are balling. They are a wagon. It is a problem. They're averaging 43.2 points a game.
Good Lord.
So all that to be said, I am worried. I think any logical Georgia fan is worried. Now, you can make the argument, well, Texas hasn't really played anybody of this caliber of competition yet, which I would agree. Looking at their schedule, Colorado State, Michigan, like I already mentioned, UTSA, UL Monroe, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma. Colorado. Anybody else on this list doesn't really matter outside of Michigan, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma. Michigan is a shell of themselves. Mississippi State, even though they did just keep it close with Georgia, they also lost to Toledo by 30 points, and Oklahoma does not have an offense that can complete a forward pass. So that is the only thing about Texas. They have looked unstoppable, but the competition is a little questionable. And also, you could make the argument as a Georgia fan who defies all reason, saying that we kept it close against Mississippi State because maybe we were in a look-ahead spot, and maybe we didn't spend all 4 days of practice prepping for Mississippi State with this game on the horizon. Which, if you'll ask Kirby, he'll be like, "No, that's impossible. We treat every opponent equal, no matter what their name is or who's on the other sideline," which we all know is bullshit. But anyway, all that to be said, this is bar none the biggest game of the day. This is not quite a playoff game because I feel like even with a loss, either team still has their destiny in front of them just because these are two titans in the college football world. Obviously, Texas has the upper hand here without having a loss on the schedule. But I feel like Georgia, with what ended up being a close loss at Alabama, and let's just say hypothetically the game does not go how we want it to, that's two quality losses in a 12-team playoff world. I think we'll still be okay. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to plan for that, but as a Georgia fan who has emotions, I'm pulling a film.
Already feeling them.
Yeah. I'm pulling a film stock. I may or may not be pre-coping.
Valid.
So
that's valid. It's hard not to when you see the lapses in this football team, the glaring
holes,
mistakes, and holes in this team. It's undeniable, really, as a fan. It's something that we haven't seen in a few years, where it's, you may have some weak spots, but overall the execution is there. You're well disciplined. You play good football.
Yep.
There's just been some bad football that's been played by this team.
Correct.
There's no denying that. Can Georgia win the game? Absolutely, I think they can. They have it in them. Like you said, Texas, up until this point, is a little less tested, but can't really fault them for that. They have won the games that they have played how they should win them, and that is no small feat to them.
Yep.
So they've done what they needed to do up until this point and put themselves in an excellent position to where if you lose this game, you're still in a good spot with the remaining schedule that they have.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to pick this game because I might have to pick Texas, and I don't want to do that on air. They are a three. I don't know if you said it, Drew. I'm going to say it again if you did. Texas is a 3.5 point favorite. At home, rightfully so. I expected them to be the favorite in this scenario. And then if you're into the ESPN analytics, if that's your thing, Texas is a 76.2% chance to win this game.
Yep.
Take that how you will, but dogs have their backs up against the wall. There's no doubt about that. They gotta get up for this game.
Yep.
And if there's one thing that Kirby Smart can do, in my opinion, it's get up for a game. And I would like to believe that the Alabama game was because it was Alabama. And I don't think that's all of it, but I honestly, it's hard to sit here and say it wasn't part of it. And maybe in the back of your head you knew you could lose that one and still be okay. Obviously, that's not something you want to think about. But now you have in the front of your mind, we cannot lose this game.
Correct.
And it becomes more of a desperation thing where the pressure is at an all-time high for this football game. If you want a chance at the conference championship, if you want a chance to control your own destiny, this is where you need to play your best football.
Yep. I mean, this is. I'll be completely honest. This is the first time in a long time that I have going into a game that I have had any doubt in Kirby Smart's ability to be a better coach than the guy on the other side. And the Alabama game is the key reason for that. I feel like we got outcoached in that game. I mean, anytime you
At least in the first half, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like both teams coming off a bye, and you come out and you get 28-0'd.
Inexcusable
to start the game off. Like we said that in the in the in the recap in so many words. We said that was inexcusable. So that's where the seed got planted. And like I said, Sark has been in his bag, and I have not seen anything on the Georgia side that has made me feel great since that Alabama game.
Yes, honestly, I agree. I mean, Georgia has beaten since they've beaten Auburn and Mississippi State in back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
Back-to-back games. As a Georgia fan, I will say neither of those games, at any point in time, I thought we were going to lose. However, there were still just mistakes in execution, mistakes in communication, mistakes in just simple fundamentals, tackling.
Yep.
Having communication between quarterbacks and wide receivers on routes.
Yep.
Catching the ball.
Yep.
Even up front with the O-line.
Yep.
There's been a lot of question marks. With the offensive line, and you have Tate Ratledge out for at least a few more weeks. There's a few guys on this offensive line that have not gotten as many reps. Not to say that they're not good players and can't perform well in games, but this is a big stage for a lot of these guys. I mean, it's next man up. We need somebody to step up. Georgia needs somebody to step up in a big way if they want to win this football game, which I think that is very well within the realm of possibility. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to give a pick for this one. I will just leave it as a Georgia fan. I am a little worried.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie to you, but I really can't deal with a blowout. If they go in there, Georgia goes in there and lays an egg like they did against Alabama and spots them, however many points.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping to see a complete game.
Correct.
From this Georgia team.
Correct.
And if I'm Texas, I'm feeling good in my ability to maybe disrupt that. I mean, obviously, there's film. First half against Alabama. Not to say that Georgia will play that bad, but
no.
Texas looks like a juggernaut, and they have a chance to even further prove and cement that this upcoming week in their own backyard. They've had this game circled on their schedule. I mean, this is the toughest game that they'll play all year.
Yep. To be fair, that 21 and 22 Georgia team, both of them had games like the Mississippi State game, like the Auburn game, where we should be winning by 50 and we're only winning by 28.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more so the Mississippi State game. Auburn game I can live with.
Correct.
Mississippi State has left a kind of a sour taste in my mouth.
Correct.
If I'm being honest with how we finished that game and how the defense, especially the secondary, played.
Yes. So
against the Mississippi State team who has looked not great.
Not great. So to any of the Georgia fans that end up watching this, please do not take this as we hate our team. Kirby Smart's awful.
No, far from it.
Please do not take that. It's out of love. We just know that this is a big game for both teams, and we have not been in a situation where we have been the underdog in a while. So we're getting reacclimated to that.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I think the main thing here is that Kirby Smart has elevated this program to a level and set a standard so high. When it dips below that standard, it is glaringly obvious to the fan base.
Yes.
Because over the past couple of years, we have come to expect. There's been an expectation that we've come to know of this team, and right now that is not being met.
Yes.
So, not to say that that's sustainable. No. It's hard, so hard to do that in college football.
Yep.
Obviously, Nick Saban was so good because he could maintain that level of execution and, just the way that they played football. But even, his best years, the best they did was back-to-back.
Uh-huh. I mean, to be fair, I'm looking into it right now, but what they did at Alabama for the Saban stretch was unprecedented. And even by those standards, a down season for Nick Saban was... Once they won their first national championship, his worst season was 10 wins. So the dynasty was over in 2010. The dynasty was also over in 2013. The dynasty was also over in 2014. The dynasty was over in 2017. The dynasty was over in 2019. The dynasty was over in 2022. And I'm pretty sure some of those years I just read off, they may or may not have won a national championship. So...
Yeah, I mean,
it's not...
It's easy to sit here and say, if you don't win it every year, you're done, right?
Yeah.
So even if, Georgia has 2 down years, obviously as a fan, you don't want to see that. Things aren't over, but it just takes to a certain point in the season where, not willing to really accept that as fact yet. A lot of football to be played, and I think this team has a lot of talent. Kirby Smart is obviously still a great football coach who could win games like this and get his guys up, motivated to win the games like this. So at the end of the day, I think they can win this game. It's just we need a complete game, and I think that's really all there is to it.
Correct.